Welcome, wisdom seekers. You weren't made to fit in, you were made to be felt. Let's be real. Having a strong, intimidating personality isn't always easy. People misunderstand you, project their insecurities onto you, and often label you as too much or too intense, without ever really knowing you. But here's the truth they won't say out loud. You shake things up because you stand tall where others bend. You carry yourself with a kind of quiet power that unsettles the fake, the insecure, and the controlling. Not because you're cruel, but because you're clear, and that kind of clarity is rare. This video isn't here to stroke your ego or throw around tired cliches. It's here to help you recognize just how powerful your presence really is, even when you're not trying. We're going to dig into the real, raw, and brutally honest signs that your energy commands attention, demands truth, and changes the temperature of every room you walk into. And listen, if people have ever made you feel like you need to tone it down, shrink yourself, or be more palatable, this is your sign to stop listening to them. Your strength doesn't need permission. It needs purpose. So if you've ever felt like you were too intense for the crowd you're in, or like people just act differently around you without knowing why, this video was made for you. It's time to understand the real reason why your presence hits harder than most people's words ever could. Let's dive into fully. Number 1. People constantly feel the need to explain themselves around you. You ever notice how people start explaining themselves a little too much around you even when you didn't ask? Like you'll casually say, "Oh, you went there for lunch?" And suddenly you're in a TED talk about how they skipped breakfast, ran out of groceries, and had no time to cook. Meanwhile, you're just standing there thinking, okay, I was just making conversation. Here's what's really going on. Your presence feels like a mirror. And not just any mirror. One that shows people their real motives, habits, and choices without sugarcoating anything. You're not judging them, but something about the way you carry yourself makes people reflect on their own behavior. And they start trying to justify things that don't even need justification. That's power. People subconsciously pick up on the fact that you don't entertain nonsense. You're not the type to gossip, fake laugh, or nod just to make someone feel better about their excuses. So when they're around you, they instinctively feel like they need to be on point. They start editing themselves, explaining things that no one asked about, trying to earn your approval, even if you're not handing any out. It's not because you're intimidating in the aggressive or arrogant sense. It's because you radiate self-awareness, and that energy disrupts people who aren't used to being fully seen. They feel like you can spot a lie they're still telling themselves, and that makes them nervous. So they over-explain. They try to sound reasonable. They want to make sure you see them in a good light, because deep down, your opinion carries weight, even when you say nothing. If this sounds familiar, don't tone yourself down to make others more comfortable. You're not the problem. You're just someone whose energy makes truth harder to avoid, and that's a gift most people don't even realize they need. Number 2, you see through manipulation. So fast it scares people. Ever walk into a room, hear someone talking, and instantly think, yeah, I see exactly what you're doing. You don't always say it out loud, but deep down you already know when someone's playing a game. It's like you've got a radar for manipulation, and not the dramatic, obvious kind. You catch the subtle stuff, the tone shifts, the guilt tripping, the flattery that feels too calculated. You see it all before it even finishes loading. Here's the thing, you don't just notice manipulation, you decode it. While most people are still figuring out how they feel, you've already traced the motive, predicted the next move, and decided whether or not you're playing along. That kind of insight? It's unsettling for people who are used to getting away with emotional baiting or passive-aggressive power plays. They rely on confusion to control others, and you, my friend, are not easily confused. That's why some people act strange around you. They get uncomfortable, defensive, even hostile for no clear reason. Why? Because they can feel you're not buying their act. You don't need proof. You've already connected the dots. And nothing scares a manipulator more than someone who doesn't fall for the setup. What makes you different is you don't even try to expose them. You just make it clear you're not playing their game. You stay calm, detached, and unbothered. And that quiet confidence is a direct hit to anyone who thrives on drama or control. Truth is, you don't need to raise your voice or start a confrontation. Just existing with that level of awareness is confrontation enough. People who manipulate for power suddenly feel powerless around you, and that's why they either avoid you or try to take you down. Stay sharp. Trust your gut. You're not paranoid. You're perceptive, and that scares the hell out of people who hoped you wouldn't notice. Number 3. Small talk dies around you. Ever notice how conversations around you either get really deep or just die on the spot? Like someone will start with the usual, "How's it going?" And 2 minutes later, they're talking about their childhood trauma, existential crisis, or why they hate their job. But if they're not ready for that level of honesty, the conversation just fizzles out awkwardly. Yeah, that's not a coincidence. That's you. You kill small talk, not because you're cold or boring, but because you don't entertain fluff. Your energy doesn't say, "Let's keep it light." It says, "Let's be real." And whether you know it or not, that pulls truth out of people. They either open up to you in ways they never expected, or they get uncomfortable and shut down completely. There's no in between. Most people are used to skating through conversations with filters, fake smiles, and pre-rehearsed lines. But with you, those filters don't work. You have this quiet way of making people feel seen, and suddenly the weather talk just feels pointless. You're not trying to make anyone uncomfortable, you just naturally create a space where surface level doesn't survive. That's a rare gift, but it can be intimidating. A lot of people don't want to face their real thoughts, their real feelings, or their real life choices. So when they meet someone who brings that energy just by being present, they either lean in or they run. And that's okay. Let them run. Your presence isn't meant to entertain small minds, it's meant to challenge them. Invite depth, awaken self-awareness. And sure, it might mean fewer conversations, but the ones you do have, they're real, they're raw, they actually mean something. So if small talk dies around you, good. You're not here to play social games. You're here to have real, honest, unfiltered connection, and not everyone's built for that. But the ones who are, they'll never forget you. Number 4, you're not afraid to outgrow people, and they know it. There's something powerful, almost dangerous, about a person who can outgrow people without making a scene. You don't scream, "I'm done with you." You just level up, move forward, and leave the chaos behind. That quiet shift, it rattles people more than any loud exit ever could. You've outgrown friends, partners, maybe even family dynamics. Not because you're heartless, but because you refuse to stay stuck in places that no longer match your growth. You've learned the difference between loyalty and self-betrayal. And while others stay in toxic circles because we go way back, you know that history doesn't excuse dysfunction. That kind of emotional clarity, most people don't have it, and it terrifies the ones who depend on guilt, obligation, or emotional manipulation to keep people close. What's even scarier for them is that you don't need closure, applause, or a big announcement. You simply stop showing up for versions of yourself you've already outgrown. You don't attack, you don't argue, you don't explain, you just evolve, silently, steadily, without looking back. And that's what hits people hardest. See, the people who try to control others with loyalty expect you to play the same role forever. But when you grow beyond their comfort zone, they panic. They act like you've changed, because you have. You've changed in ways they didn't see coming, and now they don't know how to access you. That's intimidating. But here's the truth. Your growth isn't betrayal. It's alignment. And it's not your job to dim your light so someone else can stay comfortable in the dark. So if you've been outgrowing people lately, don't feel guilty. Feel proud. It means you're doing the inner work most people avoid. And if that makes people uncomfortable, let them be uncomfortable. You didn't come this far just to stay the same. Keep growing, quietly, unapologetically, and without looking back. Number 6, you don't compete. You evolve silently. You ever notice how some people treat life like a constant competition? They're always comparing, always performing, always trying to one-up the next person just to feel like they matter. Meanwhile, you're over here moving in silence. minding your own business and somehow still outpacing them without even trying. That's not luck. That's power. You don't compete, you evolve. You don't feel the need to show off your wins, chase validation, or prove yourself in every room. While others are shouting for attention, you're observing. While they're flexing, you're strategizing. And while they're obsessed with being seen, you're focused on becoming better. That quiet focus? It's lethal to people who think noise equals success. Most folks are playing checkers in public. You're playing chess in your own lane. You see the long game. You're not rushing to impress today. You're building something that'll still matter 5 years from now. And here's what really shakes people. You're doing it without the spotlight. People who thrive on comparison don't know how to handle someone who's not playing their game. They try to bait you into competition, throw shade, or subtly challenge you, just to prove they're ahead. But you don't bite. You don't panic. You just move differently. And that's what really makes you intimidating. It's not arrogance. It's discipline. You don't need to be the loudest in the room because your results do the talking. You grow in silence, improve in private, and show up so prepared that people wonder how you got so far without making a scene. So let them chase applause. Let them burn out trying to be the center of attention. You're not in that race. You're in your own category. And the best part? There's no competition there. Just progress. Number 7. You never beg to belong, even when you're outnumbered. You ever find yourself surrounded by people who just don't get you? And instead of shrinking, faking it, or forcing a smile, you just stay solid? You're not trying to fit in. You're not desperate to be liked. You're not adjusting your personality to blend with the crowd. You walk in, own your space, and let the room figure you out. That right there is rare. Most people bend themselves into shapes just to be accepted. They laugh at jokes they don't find funny. They nod along to opinions they secretly disagree with. They trade authenticity for approval, and still end up feeling empty. But you never beg to belong, and even when you're outnumbered, you don't flinch. It's not arrogance, it's self-respect. You know who you are, and you refuse to apologize for it. You understand that being true to yourself might make you the outsider, but you'd rather stand alone in your truth than be surrounded by people who only accept a watered-down version of you. That kind of quiet confidence. It messes with people, especially those who rely on groupthink to feel powerful. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't need their validation, someone who isn't performing for attention, someone who walks alone and likes it. And the truth is, a lot of people aren't used to that. They expect you to adjust, to play along, to read the room, but you are reading the room, and you're choosing not to betray yourself just to be accepted in it. So yeah, your independence makes some folks uncomfortable. Good. Let it. That's how you know you're not part of the herd. You're not built to blend in. You're built to stand firm. And when you do, even the loudest crowd can't drown out your presence. Number 8. Fake people avoid you like the plague. You ever wonder why certain people just disappear around you? The ones who smile too wide, compliment too much, or always seem to be performing for everyone else. Yeah, those types. They vanish the moment you step in. Not because you confronted them, not because you exposed them publicly, but because deep down, they know they can't fake it around you. See, your energy is like a walking lie detector. You don't even have to say anything. Your presence alone makes masks feel heavy. You're not out here playing truth police, but you carry a level of authenticity that forces people to either get real or get gone. And most fake people, they choose the latter. It's not personal to them, it's self-preservation. You make them feel seen in ways they're not ready for. Around you, all the little tricks that usually help them blend in or gain favor stop working. The flattery falls flat. The bragging sounds empty. The forced positivity feels weird. You don't buy it, and worse, you don't respond to it. That silence, that unreadable expression you give when they try too hard, it shakes them. You don't have to call out the fake, it just dissolves in your presence. People who live behind masks crave attention, not authenticity. And when they realize you're not playing that game, they retreat. Fast. They feel exposed, uncomfortable, like you're holding up a mirror they never asked to see. That's why they avoid you. Not because you're mean, but because you're real, and they're not ready for that. And honestly, that's a gift. If fake people walk away from you, let them. Your energy isn't meant to entertain illusions. It's meant to attract truth. And if that scares people off, good. You weren't meant to carry that dead weight anyway. Number 9. You speak calmly, but with finality. You ever notice how you don't need to raise your voice to be taken seriously? You're not the type to shout, throw a fit, or dominate conversations just to prove a point. You speak calmly, cool, collected, but when you do speak, it lands. People might not always agree, but they listen, because there's something about the way you say things that tells them, I meant that. That's rare. In a world where everyone's yelling to be heard, you come in with quiet conviction, and it rattles people, especially the ones who rely on volume and drama to gain attention. They don't know what to do with someone who doesn't need to scream to command a room. Because here's the truth. Your power isn't in how loud you are, it's in how certain you are. You don't speak just to fill silence. You speak when there's something worth saying. And when you do, there's no room for second guessing. People feel that finality, that unshakable energy, that inner resolve that says, I'm not here to argue, I'm here to be clear. And that scares people, especially the insecure ones. They're used to confusion being a tool. They're used to debates, loopholes, or talking circles. But you cut straight through the noise with calm, firm truth. No extra fluff, no emotional blackmail. Just solid words with solid intent. And that's where your voice gets its weight. It's not that you're cold, it's that you're clear. You've done the inner work. You know what you believe, where you stand, and what you will or won't tolerate. That kind of clarity. It doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it simply speaks. Once. And that one statement, it's often more powerful than 100 loud voices. So if people get quiet after you've said your piece, don't be surprised. They're not just hearing your words, they're processing the truth behind them. Number 10. You don't overshare, and it drives nosy people crazy. You know that moment when someone starts fishing for personal details and you just don't take the bait? You nod, you smile, maybe give a polite answer, but nothing real leaves your mouth. Not because you're hiding something, but because you know better than to hand your inner world over to just anyone. You don't overshare, and it drives nosy people crazy. You're not cold, you're not closed off, you're just selective. There's a difference. You've learned that privacy isn't secrecy, it's protection. And while everyone else is out here emotionally undressing on social media or trauma dumping on the first person who listens, you're staying quiet, watching, listening, learning. And that unsettles people who are used to decoding others before revealing themselves. See, nosy people depend on information. They like to collect personal stories, emotional weaknesses, or small confessions, not just for curiosity's sake, but for leverage. They want to know what makes you tick, so they can feel one step ahead. But with you, they hit a wall. You give them nothing to work with. They'll ask sly questions, try to corner you in casual conversations, poke around with friendly concern, but you stay cool, give surface-level responses, and pivot the conversation like a pro. And eventually it clicks for them. They can't read you. And that? It makes them visibly uncomfortable. They'll call you mysterious, say you're too guarded. But what they're really frustrated about is lack of access. You're not playing the emotional exposure game, and they don't know how to handle someone who doesn't hand over their inner life on a silver platter. And you know what? That's your power. You're not here to bleed for attention. You're here to connect with depth, and that takes time, trust, and discernment. So let them be annoyed. Let them feel that itch they can't scratch. You're not an open book. You're a locked journal with no key. And not everyone deserves to read your pages. You weren't born to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You were born to own your space, fully. Having a strong, intimidating personality isn't about scaring people. It's about being so real, so solid, and so unapologetically yourself that others are forced to either rise to your level or fall away. And that makes some people uncomfortable. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your presence demands truth in a world that often survives on performance. You're not loud, but your silence carries weight. You're not cold, but your boundaries are firm. You're not arrogant, but you know who you are. And every time you walk into a room with that calm, quiet confidence, you shake up the status quo. That's not something to tone down. You don't need to explain your energy to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. You don't need to soften your edges for people who've never learned how to handle strength without control. And you definitely don't need to dim your light just to make someone else feel less insecure in your glow. Let them misread you. Let them call you intimidating. Let them walk away if they can't handle your presence. Because the truth is, the right people won't feel threatened by your power. They'll feel inspired by it. So keep walking tall. Keep speaking truth. Keep setting standards without saying a word. And if you saw yourself in even a few of these signs, trust me, you're not too much. You're just finally enough. Let this be the moment you stop apologizing for being the strongest energy in every room. Thank you for watching.